A few years after Motorhead started, punk sort of came along in the UK. What was your initial take when that started to happen? Did you think it was going to be...
Well, my first take was that guy can't sing, you know. Mm-hmm. But then I realised he wasn't trying to sing, he was trying to be obnoxious, which is okay, I didn't mind that. So I went down to the Roxy, where it all started in London, right? And there's terrible mistrust. It's geezer with long hair and, you know, flared trousers comes into this punk club. And this voice behind me said, I was a big Hawkwind fan, I used to sell acid at your gigs, and I turned around, it's Johnny Rotten. And then I remembered him, he used to have long red hair and sold acid out of the pockets of this army greatcoat at the all-nighters. Yeah, how about that, an education? So he wasn't that pure in heart, you know.
Did you think that it was going to catch on in the way that it did? I mean, looking at it from fairly close up.
In the beginning, it didn't catch on for about 2 or 3 years. We won a contest in one of the music papers. We were the best, worst band in the world. There's a category all for us, all by ourselves. And that killed our career for about 2 years. You know, we almost broke up. And then, of course, we got the deal with Chiswick Records, you know. Mm-hmm. And he said, you can do a single. And we did 11 tracks in one day. Put them down, backing tracks. And he came down and he was bopping about. I knew we had him. And I said, okay, can we put the vocals on it now? He went, all right. That was the first album, you know.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Now, that took a couple of years to come out, though, right? You did a couple more records before the first session was released?
Oh, I'm not talking about On Parole, I'm talking about Motorhead England.
Oh, okay.
That was the first album.
Yeah.
On Parole was before that, yeah, with Larry Wallace, you know. Mm-hmm. And Lucas Fox, poor devil. Mm-hmm. It's a long story. I wouldn't burden you with it right now.
Now, at what point did you switch from guitar to bass? Because you were a guitarist in the Vickers and
a very mediocre guitarist, yes. I was really no good at the guitar, you know. I was a good rhythm player, but I was no good at lead. A piece of shit, really. And then I showed up to go for the guitar player job with Hawkwind, and we found out they weren't going to get another guitarist. They were going to carry on with the Dave Brock playing lead, but the bass player never showed up because it was a free gig, and he left his guitar in the gear van. Can you imagine how dumb that is? You know, so it's like steal my gig, so I stole his gig, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. On his bass, you know. Just about an insult to injury.
So was that when you picked up the Rickenbacker bass? Or?
That was the first time I ever played a bass, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it was quite an education because, I mean, bass was easy for me, you know. That was where I was supposed to be. I was supposed to play bass, you know. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All that struggling with Telecasters was no good at all, you know, it's pointless.
Yeah. When you formed Motorhead, you were late 20s, maybe 30?
I was 30.
30, yeah. So
that is late 20s, isn't it? Yeah. That's as late as it gets.
Yeah, yeah. So were you kind of clear-eyed about the band's commercial prospects from the start, or?
Well, no, I wanted to call it Bastard. And then our manager pointed out that we probably wouldn't get a lot of TV, you know. But actually we did, because there was a guy in our record company who used to work for BBC. So we got shoved on top of the pops. That was the main chart show, you know, up and comers, and we'd stick it in, you know. About 3 weeks in a row we got on that. That was how we started, you know. Mm-hmm,
mm-hmm. How much leeway do you even grant a producer in the studio, or do you just kind of take over?
None. You don't give him any leeway until he proves himself, you know, which is fair, isn't it, really? Mm-hmm. You know, Cameron Webb, who's doing our new album, and he's done the last 3, has proved himself to be a giant among men, you know. The first thing he did, Mickey did a backing a drum track, right? And he came in the toe around his neck, it was pretty good, right? And Cameron said, no, go back and do it again. And I've never seen anybody do that to Mickey before, you know. It was great fun. See his face go white with anger, you know. He went back and did it, it was better. See, the thing is, the producer's got to do is, it's only half the actual sound. The other half is getting you to play your best, right? Telling you to shut up, sit down, you know, do it again. And that's really hard for some producers. They can't do it, especially if they get into you as a friend level first, you know. They can't tell you the necessary harsh words, you know. But Cameron's really good at that. and he looks like Clark Kent as well, you know. So it's really amusing to see him bully Mickey D and Phil, you know, and me, you know.
Yeah. No, there's some footage in the movie of the two of you kind of going back and forth,
Yeah.
you know, arguing about song structure and.
You didn't get any of the good stuff, believe me.
There's a lot of artists who've been around for a few years. They kind of graduate from performing and recording to kind of behind the scenes stuff, starting a vanity label, managing younger bands, working as an A&R rep.
Yeah, I've
know.
noticed him going bankrupt, yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever been offered anything like that?
Nah, you're joking, aren't you? The only thing I ever got offered is free lunch, maybe now and again. Not even that usually. No, I'm not that mould, am I, really? You wouldn't look at me and think, there's a budding producer. You know. Not
But
really
have,
interested in that stuff.
Do younger bands ever approach you for, management or advice or anything like that?
Well, they ask me for advice, but I mean, what advice could you give to somebody who's like 20 when you're 63 or 4, you know? You can't give them any advice because the mistakes I made don't exist anymore, you know? And the things that screwed me over don't exist anymore. It's a different world, you know? Mm-hmm. So, make your own mistakes, motherfucker. That's what I say. Because only by making your own mistakes will you learn anything about your problem, you know? I mean, getting all the advice in the world is no good at all, you know, in this scene.
When you're writing songs, do they sort of come in a rush, or do you work on things for days,
Well, we never work on anything before the rehearsal period, before the album, we go in the studio, get some rough sort of ideas, and go in the studio completely not ready. And I write the words under the clock, tick-tock, tick-tock, get another line down, it's like murder. But that's the way we work. When Mickey joined us, he couldn't believe it. He fucking horrified, you can't write like this. I said, watch me, I got a pen. I couldn't write like this.
The band obviously has a style that you're identified with, but there are
It's the vocals,
But there are a lot of songs in your discography that really don't fit the archetypal Motorhead mold. I mean, there's,
What is the archetypal Motorhead mold?
Loud, fast, aggressive. But then you've done slow songs like I Don't Believe a Word. You've
How
done
about
acoustic
1916?
stuff.
There was not even any bass and drums and guitar on that.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, you guys could put together a compilation of Motorhead songs that don't sound like Motorhead songs.
Weird Motorhead stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. So do you do that just to...
A selection of madrigals by Motorhead. Acoustic lute,
Yeah. You've said to me before, and I'm sure to other people, you said something like, I wish everyone who had the T-shirt had the albums, because there's a million Motorhead shirts around,
Yeah.
But with
Thank you. You got one, did you?
But with the business in the state it's in at the moment, it almost seems like there's more money in a clothing line than in a new record. So have you considered, throwing money into like a Motorhead line of jeans or something?
That's another line where you can do your brains in, isn't it? I mean, there's a lot of these divas that are making all this perfume and shit, and I'm sure they're not selling them,
Mm-hmm.
Odd names,
Now, SPV filed whatever the European equivalent to Chapter 11 is.
Yeah.
So are you here at South by Southwest as an unsigned band?
Well, see, horror by horror, Sony had bought them.
Ah.
So now we're fucking Sony again, So we're going to see if we can fuck up enough for them to fire us. Something,
Well, at this point, you're Grammy-winning Motorhead, so, I mean,
Wow, Fab Gear.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know about that. They gave us a Grammy for a cover of somebody else's song, which I thought was very asshole-ish of them. Even giving you an award, they managed to get the knife in, We don't like your stuff. It's this other wonderful song that you know.
They seem to do that a lot with the Metal Grammys. It was a cover for you. Judas Priest won it for a 30-year-old live track.
Right.
You haven't done anything good in 30 years, but here's a Grammy for this
real
live
assholes,
version. Yeah.
As usual,
Yeah.
Shit comes down from on high, you just keep pedaling, right?